Okay, good evening everyone, and welcome to, I forget which episode this is, of the State of the Union podcasts. We're back in our new abode with Gina and Mitchell. Hello, Gina.
Good evening. Hello.
And Niall Fraser. Hello.
Hello.
And David Griffiths. That's me. So, lots to talk about. A packed programme this week, so I'll go straight over to Niall, who's going to run us through some of the stuff we're going to be talking about.
Right, so right off the bat, we've got Hamza Watch, our favourite segment. That'll be coming up rapidly. We've got The Tiger That Came to Tea debacle. This children's book that's, causing bother. We've got the health service on its knees again. Thank you, Hamza. We've got the coalition, the Green Coalition. We'll have to talk about that as well. And we've got the threat of further lockdowns.
Yes.
And you wanted to talk about freedom from abuse?
Yeah, I did. I saw a really interesting news article today, and it was a lady, Marlon Hawes, was being interviewed, and she's from an organisation called Freedom from Abuse. And what she was advocating was that parents had to take responsibility for their children and having access to tablets, to mobile telephones that have internet access. And she said that during lockdown, she had run lots of courses. This woman works with prisoners. She goes into prisons and she speaks to paedophiles, and they tell her, how they groom children and how they gain the trust of children.
Pretty horrible line of work, isn't it?
It's horrible, but this woman is spot on. And she said, parents cannot blame anyone else. And she said she's always having parents coming along and saying, you're not going to believe this.
Yep.
This has happened. And when a child shares an image, it's there forever, basically.
Of course it is,
and it goes into the dark web.
Yep.
And you can't ever get it back.
Yes,
It's gone, it's
yep.
there. And the number of children that are being put into the position of being competitive with one another to go that bit further than the last child.
That's...
and it's a paedophile paradise.
Oh, God, I know.
So this woman was absolutely on the ball. She said that at no time should a child be allowed to take a tablet, a laptop, or a mobile telephone into their bedroom.
Yeah.
And she's talking about children from the youngest age.
I don't even want to ask.
So it's not even like grown-up kids.
Mm-hmm.
This is children, babies.
Right. So if
kids.
you're a parent out there listening to this, take that device right off your kid immediately, because it's a free for all almost.
Look into Marlon Hawes' Freedom from Abuse,
Marlon Hawes.
and she will absolutely grasp your attention when she shows you what can and does unfortunately go horribly wrong.
Mm-hmm. So moving swiftly on from that was quite a horrible story actually.
Isn't it?
Right, so The Tiger That Came to Tea. I fail to remember the writer of this children's book, but it's a children's book where they're having a wee tea party and a tiger comes along. A nice wee imaginative story for kids.
Yep.
We can't have that book anymore.
Why?
Well, according to Zero Tolerance Charity Scotland, they say that it perpetuates negative stereotypes, gender stereotypes of course, and that it can lead towards violence against women. So we've got the leap, and it is a gigantic leap from a children's book to violence against women.
Okay then. Right.
I know. It didn't know what to say about it. It just leaves you speechless. It is nonsense. But I was really interested in this story.
Prior to this charity raising concerns, is this a book that lots and lots of children would...
This is a very famous book.
Very famous book.
Yeah.
Very famous children's book, indeed, yes.
So it got me thinking, who was this charity? And who are these people complaining? Because they literally go through a list of children's book and vet them to see if they're conforming to the whole gender ideology stuff. But this is the annual reports for zero tolerance. So I've got it in my hands, right? And weirdly, parts that are redacted. So just
From a
to
financial report.
from a charity's financial statement.
So what is Oscar, the charity regulator?
So I don't know if this is
you should get this
legal
document.
or not.
You should get this document from Oscar.
This has come directly from Zero Tolerance.
Right.
This is their annual report.
Yeah, but you should go to Oscar, the charity regulator, and download the same document.
I reckon it will still be redacted. So it's quite heavily redacted actually. So I'm just quoting from this document. We celebrated our 7th annual Right, as in to right, to end violence against women awards at the Scottish Parliament, hosted by a nameless MSP. And by nameless, I just mean his or her name is blank.
Why?
I know.
It's a charity.
And it gets weirder. So,
Very odd.
you want to know who the trustees are? The part.
That would be very
Do you
illuminating.
want to know
Yeah.
who the trustees are?
Yeah, who's the
Oh
head of
well,
charity?
well, so would I.
Yeah. Big black.
So this is
paragraph
all
there.
redacted. All of it.
Something-
you
something
must
to hide,
contact
do we think?
Oscar.
Yeah.
Why would what? I've been a trustee of many's a charity,
Yeah.
and in Companies House you are listed as directors of a charity.
Yeah.
When
Trustees,
you're a trustee,
yeah.
when you're a trustee, you're listed as a director. So why would you ever want to redact a document?
Well, it's not whether you want to redact a document, right? Is that even allowed?
Yeah,
Are
quite.
you allowed to
I
redact financial
honestly
statements
wouldn't
with a
have thought
charity?
that was legal. I would definitely be taking that up with Oscar, the
Well,
charity regulator.
I mean,
And it's a Scottish registered charity
so basically, there's a whole
that
cloud.
gets money from the government, presumably.
So this is
Or does it get money from the
majority
government?
funded by the Scottish government. I've already confirmed that. So this Zero Tolerance
Right,
charity is
okay.
majority funded by the
So-
Scottish government.
Having been involved with multiple charities,
Yep.
there are obligations to the Charity Commission. In Scotland, it's Oscar. Does this charity extend out with Scotland?
I don't know that. I don't know.
Okay, I think we need
But it's
to-
registered in Scotland for you.
Well, for
So-
Scottish purposes, if they're fundraising
Yeah.
in Scotland, it has to be
Well-
registered with Oscar.
I just wanted to bring up the whole mysteriousness
That's very mysterious.
about this charity that wants to cancel books, effectively.
Yeah.
Which, in this day and age, it's effectively book burning. If they want to just, we can't read that book anymore. We'll have to
Absolutely.
delete that from the website. Amazon don't sell it because it,
It's one step
blah,
short
blah,
of book burning. You're right.
it's the new age book burning. It's digital book burning. So we're in this. It's just so weird, especially when I try to go digging, and I'm redacted. It doesn't make any sense.
Bizarre.
So moving swiftly onward for that mysteriousness, we've got the health service. So you've got some inside knowledge about the whole COVID track and tracer.
Yeah. So I happen to know someone very, very well who has worked on track and trace. This was a company in Scotland who was doing track and trace for the NHS in England.
Right.
And basically, staff sat about for a whole week without being able to make one call.
Goodness.
Wow.
And then once the system was up and running again, it was quite interesting that the staff were then let go. So the other thing about it was that what was reported back was that the majority of people that were being spoken to having tested positive for COVID had actually been double jabbed. So that just sounded
Goodness.
a bit odd.
Very.
And then the other thing about the health services this week, there has been quite a lot of discussion about children being, it having to become mandatory for children to be vaccinated.
Yep.
And there was a doctor who's a paediatrician,
Yeah.
very experienced paediatrician, Dr. Rose Jones.
Yep.
And she basically said that it was misuse of vaccine, and that, you know, her concern as a
Pediatrician. Yeah.
paediatrician would be that these children could end up with cardiomyopathy and cardiac issues, and that also anyone that had been in contact with COVID, anyone who'd had COVID, they really weren't at risk at all. So, you know, they shouldn't be doing anything like this without doing antibody testing, and
think it's
instead of giving the children an unknown substance, which now, this week, they're saying that they're going to have to give boosters.
Yep.
And that one of the other things that was reported this week by an eminent professor in Bath, Professor of Immunology in Bath, he reported that our immune systems are now all compromised because anyone who's had the vaccine, their immune system is compromised, and they are now basically less protected against COVID. And that brings me back to the contact centre that was contacting people with COVID, who were all double jabbed, or the majority of them were double jabbed. So basically we've now got, medical professors coming out and basically saying that because people have been double jabbed, that their immune system is now compromised. Now, to make it personal for me, I was vaccinated. I went along with the programme willingly to be vaccinated in order to protect my community. And I had a terrible reaction to that vaccine. Terrible reaction, which has left me permanently compromised, in that my voice is actually compromised. I completely lost my voice. And then I investigated thoroughly before deciding that I wasn't actually going to have a second vaccine, because in good conscience I couldn't sign something that said I accept the risks, because I didn't know what the risk was. Yeah. I genuinely didn't know what the risk was. Well, yeah?
I've been vaccinated. I've been double vaccinated. I've had huge problems prior to that with immune system, with illness and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was considered high risk.
Of course.
I haven't had any issues apart from the first 24 hours after the first one. I felt terrible. It was awful. But so far, anyway, I've had a little bit of a recurrence of some minor, what I think is immune system related skin issues, but it doesn't seem to be anything bad. So,
I mean, me myself,
I've been okay.
I've had over 10 vaccines. Over 10. I can't go past a vaccine centre. We've got a wee doggy.
It's rather a big doggy. Hang on a sec. That's the doggy's mummy. Oh, well, during this brief intermission, let me just model the t-shirt, guys, because I'm sure you'll love the t-shirt.
Yes, a brilliant t-shirt.
This is courtesy of our friends at Majority. Hello, Mark and Mary. But I think it pretty much tells the story, so I hope you can all see that, and I hope you'll buy into the sentiment behind it.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Indeed.
I think it's much required, actually.
Absolutely. It's what Scotland needs. What Scotland wants desperately.
We need purge the sturge.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. So worrisome really that there's a story today in the on the news about a lady, I think she was a sports journalist or something, who developed a blood clot and died after getting the vaccine.
The story broke about the 44-year-old BBC reporter.
That's her. That's the girl. The very girl.
So the coroner's report, she died a few months ago, I think.
Yes.
But the coroner's report came out and said it was complications with the vaccine.
Yeah.
So that's confirmed.
I was speaking to a friend today who worked at Tesco, and one of her colleagues was absolutely adamant that everyone should get the vaccine, and she was getting the vaccine because she wanted to go on holiday. And
of course, that's the number one reason, by the way.
Yep.
The people have had it, yeah.
And she got the vaccine. This girl got the vaccine after telling everybody else how important it was to get the vaccine, and the girl died.
Oh,
that's tragic.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
That's tragic.
So, in all honesty, in good conscience, I'm not taking the second dose because my immune system was definitely compromised.
I mean,
And I am not an anti-vaxxer by any manner of
I know
means.
that.
I'm sure you've had vaccines before in your life.
Every single vaccine that my children had to have, they had the vaccine. This is different.
Yeah.
I think you have to. I think we need to
I'm
know more.
addicted to the vaccine. I can't go past a testing centre or a vaccine centre without going in for a wee sneak peek. Can I have the Pfizer? Can I have the Astra? You know, I just keep
Well, I
getting
had
jabbed.
AstraZeneca.
I keep getting
but
jabbed.
it's not just AstraZeneca. It's
The Pfizer.
the Pfizer as well.
That's BioNTech.
You know, I mean,
BioNTech,
I
yeah.
mean,
BioNTech.
Who knows? But what I was told, what I was advised was that I should not have actually left because my experience was an instant reaction
It was.
to the vaccine, and I was advised that in actual fact I was wrong to have left the vaccine centre and come home. I should have actually reported that and been taken to hospital.
Goodness.
But I didn't. I came home and I suffered and then eventually spoke with my GP. But I mean, I think the natural reaction is when you have something like the vaccine,
Yeah.
you know, it's new and you think, oh God, I'm a fool, you know, I don't feel great. Maybe I've just not had enough to eat this
Yeah.
morning before I've done it. And you make all sorts of excuses, but in actual fact, my reaction to it was immediate.
Yeah.
And I described it as my body going into shock.
Wow.
I remember. You weren't well at all for like a good 2 weeks, and you're still
no.
not fully recovered for
It
it.
went on for weeks. Weeks and weeks.
The doggy's having a bad time.
It's
Yeah, sorry
ridiculous.
about that.
Right, so
Visiting pup.
moving on for the health service and the
Yep.
COVID stuff. By the way, I did see that the Pfizer CEO,
Yeah.
he hasn't had his own vaccine.
God's sake.
What?
The CEO of Pfizer hasn't had his own vaccine.
Why?
Is he saying that he's left it for other people to get first or something?
Well, he's not in a hustle and bustle environment, you know, he's just not needed. But moving
Right.
on, so Scottish A&E waiting times.
Waiting
The
times, yeah.
performance, the second worst in recorded history.
Oh my God.
And this was in the month of June, which was Hamza Yusuf's first month in the job as health secretary. So that's special, unique Hamza magic. as well.
Hamza the genius, as we like to call him.
Yep.
Hamza, our Lord and Saviour.
I know that morale in the health service is at an all-time low.
Yeah, it
and
is.
I know that our emergency services have been,
Crippled.
well, I think they've been used and abused quite a bit, to be honest, because, you know, lack of access to GPs
Yep.
has been a major issue.
Yeah, it's huge.
And therefore a lot of things are falling on to accident and emergency.
Yep. People are bypassing the whole GP surgeries
Yeah.
and going straight to A&E
Yeah,
because
well, no, I think it's even worse than that. Because from what I've been hearing, when someone calls 101
Yeah.
and says that there's something wrong with them,
Yep.
all too often it's passed to the ambulance call centre and an ambulance is instructed to go out. So basically, I think the ambulance service have been doing a lot of
they must be
the
inundated.
normal triage
Yeah.
that the GPs
Should
would
be
normally
doing,
have
yeah.
done, out of hours GP service. But you know, you try and get an out of hours GP to come and visit you, I think you would be
Yep.
seriously,
You're going to struggle.
yeah, I think be challenged.
For
Yeah.
sure. So I've got great sympathy with the NHS. Huge sympathy with the NHS staff and
Yeah.
doctors, nurses. and it must have
So
been
the doctors and nurses as well, you know, I had a
Yeah.
guy, just a normal conversation with a man on the street the other day, and he was just decrying how bad it was. He says, I love the nurses, I love the doctors, but the service to now, my wife's waiting 20 weeks
Well,
Yeah.
to see anyone.
Well, listen. I heard something. It was about Northern Ireland, and it was this woman, and she had rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah.
Guess how long they told her she was going to have to wait?
It's going to be over 12 months or something.
No, it's a lot longer than that.
18.
Times 5. 5
years.
years.
No way.
I swear, that was on News at
What?
10 last night.
That's
5
impossible,
years,
surely.
5 years to get an appointment
Gotta love
with
it.
a rheumatologist.
That's insane. That is insane.
And there's so many things that are insane at the moment that are
I know.
just, you know, that are being normalised.
I
Yeah,
know.
true.
Well,
By the way, Brexit
Yep.
is being blamed, if you can, buy pigs in blankets.
No, I've seen
At the
that.
moment.
No. I've seen there's a pigs and blanket shortage.
And you like your pigs and blankets at Christmas.
I've stocked up already, just in
Get
case.
them in the freezer.
You
know what I mean?
better get them and get them in the freezer
I
because
was never a big
pigs
fan.
and blankets, and we're talking about a sausage war.
The sausage wars. Meanwhile, the Taliban and that,
Yeah, exactly. Well, I couldn't
Afghanistan's having a great time, but we've got the sausage wars.
With sausage rolls.
Afghanistan's just
Oh,
another
this
story.
really
but-
is.
Yeah, I
But
didn't even
no,
want to touch on that.
first of all, to finish off on the sausage wars.
Yeah.
So this whole Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland thing with sausages is a serious issue. And the other problem is that we have issues with logistics companies that are delivering foodstuffs.
The HGV
So there's a
drivers,
lot of stores are complaining that the shelves are bare because they're not getting deliveries. The reason for that is that because of Brexit, all these people have gone back to Europe. Traditionally these European lorry drivers were getting paid a pittance.
Yes.
And accused of putting UK citizens out of work. And now that they have gone back to Europe, we now have a drastic shortage of lorry drivers. So in actual fact, things have gone full circle, where in the UK, employers employing lorry drivers are not going to get away with paying them minimum wage.
Which is a good thing.
And they're going to have to pay proper wages,
Yes.
proper living wage to drivers
That's a good thing,
in the UK. So there's benefits.
Absolutely right. It's exploited.
But
and
we
that's what
do
they'll do.
miss our European drivers.
We do. Well, it just proves that Jimmy Hoffa was right. If you've got it, a truck driver brought it to you, I should say.
That's true.
It's true. Whatever
that's
you've got,
true.
look around you. I couldn't get Asda couldn't sell me any ginger ale last night, so I'm furious. I blame Brexit for this. To have with my brandy at night. But no, it's true. I mean, these are guys who do a great job, and it was exploitative, clearly.
Of course.
And so it's not right. My nephew is sitting next door, drives a van and delivers every day. So I have great sympathy and great empathy with these people. So it's terrific if they, but it just shows what a lie it was that these people were stealing jobs. They weren't doing any such thing.
Not at
It wasn't at all. So
No, they were being the UK workforce was being undermined.
Absolutely.
Yes, of
So
course.
there comes a time where maybe the trade union should have done more at that time to make things.
Very good
A
point.
bit more palatable for
Yeah.
I mean, trade unions have got multiple purposes, but one of the main purposes is to have equality of working conditions and rights at work. And I think that, there is a very, very strong place for trade unions in our working environment, especially when there are so many zero-hour contracts still in existence and people are not being afforded proper working rights.
Quite right too.
So getting on to the nitty gritty,
Yep.
we've got the SNP Green Alliance.
Wow.
I could not have dreamt up a worse nightmare than this.
Well,
I couldn't have done it.
We did say prior to the Scottish parliamentary elections, there was a model designed by George Galloway
That's true.
that basically listed, and I've said this in multiple podcasts,
Yep.
but I'm going to say it again, in every seat in the UK had some tactical voting
Yep.
been adhered to, we
Wouldn't
wouldn't
have
have
been.
ended up with another SNP minority government.
know,
Now
I
it's
know.
an SNP
For
Green.
14 years, I mean.
14 years exactly.
Well, now it's
now 50.
Yes.
And it's going to be for another 5 years.
And the real nightmare is, Jeanan's absolutely right. George Galloway
It was
the one
avoidable.
he was the visionary here. He said if you have a single party fighting for one cause in constituencies,
Yep.
backed up by a catch-all single party.
And those pro-union parties
Yep.
that achieved more votes,
Yep.
had they done it tactically,
Yep.
would have had a more balanced parliament.
Well, it's
But
yep.
they chose not to.
They chose to fight
Why
each
do
other.
pro-union parties not work together
Exactly.
Because they would have had more pro-union
Yep.
MSPs.
We know what
The
happens.
nationalists.
Exactly, we know what happened.
Yep.
50%
But they
of
chose that.
49.9 or 49.8% of the constituency vote went to the SNP, and they got 85% of the seats. 50.2% of the constituency votes went to pro-UK parties, so
Yeah.
you
Well, it's split
got
amongst-
15% of the seats. It is the politics of the madhouse, frankly. You know, you've got Anna Sarwar, whom we saw on the stump,
Yeah.
so to speak,
Yeah.
saying, we've got to fight the Tories. The Tories? What year do you think
know,
this is,
I know.
Anna? Seriously? So,
Yeah.
It's
and that's
But
what's happened. It's
Will
ludicrous.
you please tell me if I'm wrong? Will you show me any form of opposition right now?
that's-
Or am I missing something?
You'll see it tomorrow
well-
when the vote takes place, which I believe is tomorrow, to sanction the proposal for the official Green SNP coalition. I'll bet you that the opposition leaders sit and clap immediately, like they did when Sturgeon was signed in again as First Minister, and you just think, my God, look at
So
you.
we're looking at Lorna Slater,
Yep, Canadian.
a Canadian lassie who's come over from trying to break up Canada
Yep,
with its own referendum over to Scotland, and she's flew right in to a ministerial seat
it's
almost.
ludicrous.
It is
Incredible.
unbelievable, and the lassie got about 6,000 votes.
That is absolutely incredible.
It's jaw droppingly mental. And
Yep.
you said it's like a banana republic with bananas.
Exactly, because we can't get bananas. No truck drivers will bring us to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it actually addles the brain.
Absolutely right. So, well, I mean, this is the first time a Green Party has been in government,
actually,
apparently.
you know, when you look at all the chat about, you know, oh, we're being governed in the UK by a government we didn't vote for.
You didn't over the Greens either.
Well, what's happening in Scotland?
Quite.
Well, it's mind during the election campaign. It was Lorna Slater that was front and centre. It wasn't
So it
Patrick
was.
Abbey, was
That's
it?
very true. You
It's
see him
because
asking.
he's so
Don't know what
repulsive.
happened.
That's true. You see him asking his two wee patsy questions at question time. That's it. But the interesting point, what I did
But
see.
listen, I'll tell you this: that will not be a union
Yeah.
that doesn't end in divorce.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Every political
Of course
union
it
does.
was.
Every political
This is the
coalition
first
ends
time
with
in the
defeat.
UK that the Greens
That's right.
have had any ministerial responsibility.
Yeah.
I
And let's not
wonder what
forget
they're going to do with it.
exactly. But let's just at this
Be
stage.
careful what you wish for.
At this juncture, let's just remind ourselves that the Scottish Greens are in no way affiliated with the UK Greens. They are a different outfit
that
altogether.
right, Anne?
They're not, and that's because they're not Green. They're not. They are nationalists in very, very thin disguise. That's all they are. They're about as green as this table. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
no, it's ludicrous, and it will not end well. I think this will be the rock
don't
upon
think
which
it'll
they
end
found
well.
her. I think it will. I really do. I think they'll struggle
Yeah.
because of this.
Oh,
We can only hope. We can only hope.
So, and Nicola off the back of a couple of press conferences this week, she's threatening further lockdowns.
Yes.
Oh,
As if we've not took enough. As if we've not
the
been battered
economy
enough.
is crippled.
Exactly.
We're like a battered wife. Please, dear God, Nicola, just let us out.
You can't. I just want to mention something at this stage. The economy is indeed in great danger.
It's grave,
If you look around any of the towns, I live in North Ayrshire, spend a lot of time in South Ayrshire, the number of businesses that have this little legend saying, "To let, may sell." It's coming
I
out everywhere.
know,
So
it's
these poor
awful.
people, they're saying we'll let these premises, but if we can't let them, we might sell them. I mean, really, it's terrible.
Family businesses, absolutely.
Yeah,
I know,
awful.
crippled.
And Nicola Sturgeon is obsessed with holding on to this supreme executive power, saying, I'm going to close everything down if you don't behave yourselves. Schools have gone back this week or last week, and of course now more school children are being tested. Therefore, there's a big spike, they say, in tests and positive tests. Well, not really, because it's young people who are being tested now, more of them, and we know that they are not so badly affected by
But
it.
see,
So
these young people, they
Yep.
have to have antibody tests rather than being pumped full of
Yes.
vaccine.
absolutely.
See, the vaccine shouldn't be going anywhere near the kids.
Because if you've had COVID
Right.
or been exposed to COVID, which most people have by now,
Yes.
Surely.
then there is no need for
You
it.
don't need the vaccine.
And
would be,
it poses no risk to children.
no, exactly.
Virtually none.
Virtually no risk indeed. No,
But
saying
the other
no
thing
risk,
that
but-
I have grave concern about is I've got 2 pregnant women in my family at the moment, and they are being encouraged to have the vaccine
Whilst pregnant.
whilst pregnant.
Goodness.
And they are not wanting to do that.
Insane.
for understandable reasons.
Well, he didn't want any complications at all. Nothing.
No, a pregnancy is a precious gift.
Absolutely right.
Not to be in any way put under any form
Compromised.
of compromise.
Agreed.
Right, so just before we move on to our favourite segment, Hamza Watch.
Yes.
I wanted to talk about pushing back on wokeism. So I've done a video this week. I was at my wit's end with the whole gender ideology stuff. I snapped. I couldn't take it anymore. And I just called it out for what it is, and it's nonsense. It is all nonsense, and I don't care about the repercussions at this point. You know, there's a lot worse things that can happen. But I'll be outside Holyrood on the 2nd of September, protesting alongside the Women.Scot and Women Won't Wish crowd. Just to show support that I believe in what they're saying. And they also stand against this. It's a fantasy world of what I called it. You know, it's a delusional fantasy world. That they all, you know, they're desperate for you to believe it. Believe in a fantasy, please, dear, please
that
listen.
are driving this and compromising children's childhood.
A minority
Literally.
is massively understating it. You're talking about a hair on the tail wagging the dog here. This is utterly ludicrous.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, this is just insane, and people are so afraid to say something which might be deemed transphobic or something.
Because we've got this hate crime bill.
Oh goodness!
Well, this is going to accelerate. If these Green ministers, the new Green minister, this will accelerate.
Yeah.
Well, who do you think is going to get pushed out?
That's a good question.
Hey.
Well,
maybe we should
I think Hamza's 100% safe because he is just the most stellar man.
He wants
that
Nicola's
Scotland.
job, does he not?
Well, I think he does.
In fact,
For sure.
Well, other than that, I mean, who else was getting groomed for it? It was Derek Mackay who was getting groomed for
exactly.
maybe the wrong word to use. He was getting groomed for the job of the SNP, but he got found out grooming. Right. So Hamza, it looks like he might be the new man on the white horse.
Yep.
Saviour.
Yes. And with that, it was Hamza Watch.
Exactly.
Right, so he's been in the news again, or his wife has been in the news. They're trying to get their kid into a nursery, and they can't get in.
Yep.
So, what's the first reaction? Oh, well, I better get a white family
Yep.
to put a fake application in for their kid to see if it gets accepted, so then I can sue them. And this is what's happened. Now they're taking the nursery to court.
A nursery.
A nursery.
Which is owned by a Muslim family, let me just say.
Yeah.
So that's how anti-Muslim they must be.
So I don't, well, you know, you can't claim racism there, can you?
Not really, no.
Which was
I
the
thought
original
that's exactly
charge.
what was being
Alleged. Yeah.
How does it work though if the guy in charge who owns it is actually the same faith? I don't know how you can see roasting on that basis at all. But
even if it wasn't,
mad that
even if he wasn't,
is being dragged into
Exactly.
this.
Even if it was you that
Whether
owned the
it's
nursery.
Catholic, Protestant or Muslim,
I
it is just ridiculous.
it is ludicrous. I refuse to believe that in Scotland a nursery is looking at applications and saying, "Oh, that looks a bit dodgy.
that name,
hang on, no, here's one called McGraw. Oh, yeah, let's have him. Come on,
I refuse to believe that as well. I just don't think
simply
it's
don't. So I would say if anybody is thinking of crowdfunding to assist the nursery, I'd happily stump up for that because I'm not having this at all. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Just awful.
Indeed.
So
talking about your 2nd September thing for a second there, I know we were talking about it.
Yeah.
I think our colleague and fellow podcast member Leo Kerse is appearing in Edinburgh that evening.
Oh, let's go watch him.
Yeah, that would be great. So yeah, if anybody's watching, check out Leo Kerse if you're over at the Friends. He's very, very funny, a terrific comedian, a lovely guy.
No, he is a brilliant comedian, and he rails against it. I mean, he's having an absolute heyday.
Exactly.
Did you say it was 11 o'clock at the Parliament, the Scottish Parliament?
11 a.m. is
when it starts.
When it's supposed to start.
So get there well ahead of time if you're going to be there.
10:30. You know, give yourself plenty of time. Get yourself into Edinburgh, Holyrood. Get yourself mingle about. And then 11 a.m. is that when the actual event's supposed to start.
How many MSPs
Will be taking
are going to be taking part in that?
Pass. Don't know. I don't know if any will. If any will have the.
Are they still on holiday?
No, this coincides with First Minister questions on this
So
day.
they're back.
Thursday, yes.
So they're back. This is why it's done on the Tuesday. Is it Tuesday or Thursday? But
Thursday,
the
second is a Thursday.
Okay, so my challenge is to
Yep.
each and every elected MSP, no matter what party you are you really seriously not going to come and support these women?
Quite right.
Yeah.
Be out there. Be out there
Yeah.
with the people who are demonstrating and speak.
Yeah.
Yep.
Especially if you're a female politician.
I know.
Right.
It's there's so much to gain
Because
from that.
we are being so undermined as women.
Well, you're being written out.
Yeah, indeed.
My
You're being written
God.
out. In fact, Jeanette,
I'm a mother.
Yep.
I'm a grandmother.
Yep.
I'm a woman. And I'm proud of it.
Quite right too.
And I don't want anyone to raise me.
for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to be a woman as well, right? So I take precedent over you, right? I'm going to be a woman for 5 minutes.
Yep.
You do know you've got a beard.
What? And? How dare you? How
Are you
dare
assuming his gender?
Are you telling me to shave? See, this is it's farcical. We could have not. I mean,
Yep.
I wish I was a comedian. Honestly, it would be.
Seriously though, my concern is for our children. I want
I know.
our children and my grandchildren to have a peaceful,
Semi-normal life.
semi-normal
Yep.
life where they've got a mum and a dad, and there's nothing wrong with it. If other people want to have other mixes of relationship, that's fine.
It's up to them, man.
I'm not saying don't normalise it if that's what is right for them, but don't erode my family values
Yeah.
in order to justify some sort of
Like you said, it was the hair
Alternative.
on the tail wagging the dog. It's such
Yeah.
such a minute
I'm
section of
I
society.
am not in any way phobic, but one
right.
thing I am absolutely fervent about is fighting for the right to have my family life as it exists.
Quite right too.
Amen to that. Right, so with that, we'll sort of wrap up. We've done
Yes,
our segments.
we have.
So that'll be all from me tonight. Thank you very much.
Well done, well done, Gina.
Nothing else to talk about.
Speaking from the heart as
Yeah.
always.
And not only that, I just want to say one other thing. I love my family
Quite right
as it
too.
is.
Yep.
And I love the way my family's evolving.
So you should.
And I want to keep my family evolving.
Yeah. And you've got
Well
2
said.
more pregnant ones on the way, so it's going to be getting bigger and bigger.
I know I'm too
Fantastic.
young to be a granny.
Yeah, quite right.
Absolutely.
Everybody out there
I
says,
wish.
no, surely not. Indeed. Right, we shall wrap up there. Well done, everybody. Thanks very much
everybody.
for thanks again, Gina. Thanks for listening, everybody. Watch out for I and we will be plugging the event next week, and also Leo's show, both of which are very well worth checking out if you can do so. We'll leave it there and wish you all good health and enjoy the weather while it lasts. Hopefully we're going to get another few days of this.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to be yourself.
Quite right. Here.
You're just coming up with belters a day.
It's
Amen to that
fantastic.
again.
Yep, indeed. Thanks everyone. We'll speak again soon. Cheers everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.